Hello everyone, this is Justin Smythe from nextbigtrade.com. This is a review of the best Stage 2 breakouts for January 24th, 2025. Starting off with artificial intelligence stock TEM, this stock absolutely erupted on volume this week. You can see almost 100 million shares traded, which is almost 2 times the float of this stock, and around 5 times the volume that had been seen previously in these recent down weeks. One of the reasons why this stock had such a powerful move is it really had this monster correction. It tried to break out back in October when the artificial intelligence stocks were heating up, and a lot of them had big moves, but this one did the opposite, broke down, and then continued moving lower on some big volume all the way, and then the S&P 500 correction set in, and it continued to kind of move lower, consolidated, formed a little bit of a base, but then erupted this week. There was some Nancy Pelosi, whose trading activity is widely followed, I think had some activity in this stock, which might have, started to tip off the move. But ultimately, this is massive volume. Institutions came into the stock in a big way. It did close off the highs of the week, but what I really like about this stock is the fact that it's still just 12% above its 30-week moving average, because it came out of such a massive correction. So you're still buying this stock, even if you buy it right now, down in its base where it's not extended. And I think this stock has a lot of potential over the next couple of weeks, if the market continues to act well, to continue to move higher. So kind of a rare case where you can buy something that was up 50% in a week, but it's still really not extended because it's coming out of a massive correction. On the daily chart, you can see it's just above the 30-week moving average, which is just starting to form because of it's a recent IPO. Did have its first down day on Friday, and the volume was less than the upside volume, so that's a good sign. It still could probably use maybe another day or two to kind of settle this volume down, which would be a perfect, place to buy it on a pullback. And again, you can manage this risk really tightly here because it's not extended, and then looking for, more follow through higher. So pretty attractive setup here. Artificial intelligence, and absolutely, this is rare volume. Like, you'll see volume like this just a few times a year typically, and we've already seen it. This is the first example this year. So very interesting stock, and it's in a good position still at this point. Now, these utility stocks are kind of the opposite, where they ran extremely higher this week and are kind of extended now. OKLO is over 100% above its 30-week moving average now, and a better buy would have been on the consolidation last week before the breakout. We also had a stage 2 breakout on this one back in December, had some massive volume back here. That was the first kind of tip off that this was getting ready to go. And then it fought its way through the correction very nicely in December. So that was another clue. And then all of a sudden, the pressure comes off and this thing explodes higher. So this one gave a lot of clues before the breakout, but now you've got a continuation move on massive volume right here. But again, now it's extended. It could definitely follow through higher next week, but if you don't have a position, you're buying with less ability to manage risk because it's way above moving averages and it's way above consolidation areas. On the daily chart, a good pullback buy would have been at the end of last week, where it's got this tight consolidation. The volume was still acting pretty well. It was kind of like drying up. and then it broke out, just ran relentlessly higher this week. Really broke out here on Monday and then just kept going. And you can see this massive increase in volume here. So now you'd want to look for, if we do get a pullback next week, that would set up a better place to buy it and manage risk. If not, this thing might just continue higher next week with this massive volume behind it. NNE is the other one, consolidation, and then it had this move lower the previous week, but it bounced at the moving average and then just blasted off higher. Up almost, up over 80% this week. Massive move, huge volume here. And then on the daily chart, this one's starting to look like it's probably going to pull back, maybe starting next week. A little bit of sellers coming in and kind of forcing it back lower at the end of the week. If we do get a pullback early next week, you'd want to look for these areas would be nice. It's probably not going to pull back that far, but again, you could manage risk better on a pullback after such a powerful move. You definitely don't want to buy a stock that's up 100% in 2 weeks, again, at these highs, because you're putting yourself at extreme risk of having a big pullback. So that's why, buying right is so critical. You can't just chase anything. Really, there's a good rule that you don't want to buy anything that's up 100% over a short time span. You want to wait for a pullback. So that's what you want to do here. Wait for a pullback, see if you get a better buying opportunity. Moving on to these space stocks. These are in better position to buy, not as extended. BKSY, continuation breakout. Notice the monster volume here. Nice consolidation that it broke out above this week. Daily chart really had a big move on Friday. Had a nice consolidation at resistance before the breakout. So this is a clear place. Get any type of a pullback next week to do buying against. Then looking for a resumption higher. Nice cluster of explosive volume on the breakout. PL, another one, massive winner this week, up over 40%. Retest of the 10-week moving average that worked well as a pullback point, and then breaks out above resistance this week. A little bit more extended than BKSY, but not as extended as the utility stocks. And on the daily, you can see had the same pattern as BKXSY, consolidated against resistance. Had its biggest move on Friday on massive volume, and you'd want to look for a pullback to manage risk against for another buy point. Uranium stock, DNN, this one obviously is not extended at all, in better position to buy. It did come back in though off of its highs of the week. You can see the massive volume here. That's constructive. But again, the uranium stocks didn't act as nearly as powerful as the utility stocks. So that's one downside there. I still think, again, like this sector at some point this year is probably going to have a monster move. Just don't know if it's going to happen now or later. On the daily chart, it did have, the volume came in on the downside. And then you've got like a former resistance level here where it's kind of getting rejected against. That's not great. That raises a little bit of caution in my view. And then you've got all this you've got a lot of distribution type of volume over the last couple of months. So I'd still be a little bit cautious about uranium here, but definitely keep it on your watch list for this year. Chinese stocks, this one broke out nicely on big volume. Nice breakout above key moving averages, and this one's not extended at all, only 14% above the 30-week moving average. On the daily chart, had big volume the last 2 days of the week. You could buy this on a pullback to this, former resistance level that's now support, and the key moving averages. And then finally, GRAL, another recent IPO. This is a healthcare stock. Massive move this week. This one's extended to almost 70% above the 30-week moving average. Cleared out all this overhead resistance. And then you'd probably want to look for a pullback here, obviously. Healthcare, not really the best sector either. So I'd put this one on the lower list of attractive candidates to enter into. And you want to look for obviously a pullback to these like support levels for a better risk reward setup. So overall, you've got kind of a mixed. You've got constructive action here. You've got explosive stage 2 breakouts. You've got strong sector action. But if you pay attention to the potential buy points on these stocks, you've got some of these utilities are extended all of a sudden. But then you've got like TEM is in way better buyable position to manage risk against, and then BKSY is another one in the space theme. You can manage risk better. So when I'm choosing stocks to trade, I like to pick the ones that can manage risk against the best, and that gives me more confidence that I'm not going to take a big loss. I'm not buying too extended. You never want to chase anything. And unfortunately, some of the utilities are super extended now after just 1 week. So, managing risk is the key to surviving longer term in trading. And I think you've got a big discrepancy in ways to manage risk from the breakouts this week.